Within the chaos of reality lies a mysterious order that the ordinary eye can hardly perceive. Intuitive introverts like INFJ and INTJ are the unique travelers on that journey. They do not merely observe the world, they decode it. In every random movement of the crowd, in every forgotten silence, they recognize invisible links connecting all events. To them, chaos is merely a veil concealing a perfect structure waiting to be revealed. In the MBTI personality classification system, INFJ and INTJ bear the mission of introverted intuition. This is not just a psychological function, it is a journey to explore the deep layers of the unconscious, where ancient mysteries and the collective wisdom of humanity are preserved. Carl Jung once described introverted intuition as a form of latent knowledge that connects individuals to timeless truths, allowing them to see beyond the surface of phenomena to grasp their true essence. This video will be the gateway to the inner world of INFJ and INTJ, where intuition is not just a fleeting feeling, but a compass, guiding them through the mystical twists and turns of the mind. Beyond merely identifying characteristic signs, we will explore how to start from zero to awaken hidden potential, building a journey of personal development based on Jung's philosophy. Get ready to step into the depths of the unconscious, where silence is the voice of truth, and intuition is the light that leads the way through chaos. Sign 1. You decode the world, not just see it. Some people walk through life not only with their eyes, but with an open mind to see through the invisible layers that others fail to notice. INFJs and INTJs are such unique individuals. They do not merely look at the world, they decode it. When an event happens or someone passes by, their gaze does not stop at surface actions, but penetrates deep into layers of meaning. This is not random speculation, but the result of introverted intuition, a type of intuition that Carl Jung once described as a perception of realities which are not yet in existence, but which are in the process of formation. This intuition is like a doorway to another dimension, where every event, every action, carries subtle hints of the future. Imagine stepping into a crowded room. Most people would only notice the lights, the colors of the decorations, or the clothes of those around them. But for INFJs and INTJs, they sense much more. A fleeting glance, a casual touch, or simply the distance between two people standing next to each other. All of these are precious data for them to decode moods, thoughts, and hidden motives. Without a single word spoken, they can sense who is happy, who is anxious, and who is hiding sadness behind a forced smile. For others, these may just be unconscious actions, but for INFJs and INTJs, they are signals, a form of unspoken language that only they can hear. Carl Jung once said, "Intuition gives outlook and insight. It revels in the garden of magical possibilities." This very intuition is the key that allows them to read the world in a way others cannot imagine. Practical examples of this decoding ability can be seen clearly in fields that require sharp intuition and deep analytical skills. Look at outstanding diplomats or brilliant psychologists. Many of them share the traits of INFJ or INTJ. They step into a conversation not just to listen to the words, but to feel every subtle change in tone, the glance of the eyes, or even the pauses between sentences. An average person might hear calmness in someone's speech, but INFJs and INTJs detect the strain behind that smile, a sign of tension or hurt. This sensitivity helps them grasp the energy of the conversation, allowing them to respond appropriately with sophistication and depth. Some INFJs and INTJs can even predict others' actions based on the smallest observations. You may have heard the story of the famous psychologist Carl Jung, who once shared that his intuition allowed him to see possibilities in formation, events that are about to happen before they occur. He did not call it magic, but a connection between the unconscious and conscious, where fragments of subconscious information are linked together into a complete picture. INFJs and INTJs are much the same. They sense the slightest shifts in atmosphere in the attitude of those around them, and from that, they forecast upcoming behavior with uncanny accuracy. Some may call it gut feeling or sixth sense, but in reality, it is the result of keen observation combined with deep intuition, a kind of radar that detects subtle vibrations others often miss. For INFJs and INTJs, life is not just a series of consecutive events, but a network of hidden currents, invisible ripples spreading through consciousness. This decoding ability is what makes them natural psychologists, trend predictors, and, most importantly, seers of true human nature. To them, the world is not merely a chaotic flow, it is a map full of signs waiting to be uncovered. Sign 2. Solitude feeds you more than social validation. For INFJs and INTJs, the ability to decode the world does not only come from keen observation, but also from meaningful moments of silence. While others may need crowds to feel their existence, intuitive introverts find strength in solitude. Carl Jung once said, "Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakens." For INFJs and INTJs, that awakening does not happen amidst the noise and social gatherings. It arises in the absolute stillness when they confront themselves. In a noisy and fast-paced world, silence is sometimes misunderstood as weakness or detachment. But for INFJs and INTJs, it is a time for regeneration, a moment to connect more deeply with their inner world and the unconscious mind. Carl Jung believed that introversion is the way to access the collective unconscious, a hidden reservoir of wisdom containing the experiences and knowledge of all humanity. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are, Jung asserted, emphasizing that solitude is the path to self-awareness and growth. Not everyone understands the necessity of those quiet moments, but INFJs and INTJs always know that silence is the space where they build their inner world. Imagine a quiet afternoon in a small room filled with soft light. An INFJ or INTJ sits in deep thought with an old book or simply lets their mind wander in endless streams of thought. For them, this is not loneliness. It is a temple of the inner mind where all noise is pushed aside, leaving only the dialogue between consciousness and the unconscious. It is in these moments that they connect with the hidden pieces of their psyche, unraveling unnamed emotions and anticipating what has yet to come. While others seek social validation to feel valuable, INFJs and INTJs find meaning through inner dialogue. It is a powerful form of existence where validation does not come from outside, but from inner harmony. Carl Jung once said, "Loneliness does not come from having no people around you, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to you." INFJs and INTJs do not fear solitude. They fear shallow, meaningless conversations. They do not follow crowds just to fill the void. On the contrary, they choose solitude to nurture ideas, to connect with the collective wisdom that Jung called the collective unconscious. There they sense timeless concepts, archetypal images that humanity has experienced across the ages. It is in silence that INFJs and INTJs touch upon the subtle truths that, amid the noise of modern society, few can recognize. Many geniuses of these personality types often seek silence to activate their powerful intuition. Steve Jobs, a quintessential INTJ, once shared that he spent hours in silence to meditate and reflect on grand ideas. Emily Dickinson, a renowned INFJ, wrote hundreds of classic works from her small room, where she secluded herself from the bustling world outside. They understood that silence is not isolation, but a way to delve into the deepest layers of the mind, where creativity and hidden wisdom awaken. INFJs and INTJs know well that true value does not come from fleeting social recognition. They choose depth over superficiality, substance over surface. For them, every moment of silence is an opportunity to listen to the voice of the unconscious, to find the missing pieces in their journey of individuation. And as Carl Jung emphasized, your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens. In that silence, they do not dream, they awaken. Sign 3. You are both the observer and the architect. If solitude helps INFJs and INTJs connect with their inner depth, their ability to observe and architect the future is the unique power that takes them beyond the boundaries of the present. INFJs are known as the empaths, sensitive souls capable of perceiving the energies and thoughts of others, while INTJs are called the strategists, masters in building strategies and designing the future. Carl Jung once said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." Here, the encounter between intuition and logic within INFJs and INTJs is not just a typical chemical reaction. It is a transformative process where their inner world sketches visions of realities that have yet to exist. For INFJs, the power of observation does not stop at the surface of events. It extends into the emotional depth and conscious layers of those around them. They are like soul translators, capable of listening to the unspoken words from glances, gestures, or subtle shifts in tone. To them, a forced smile or a distant gaze is precious data to decode someone's psychological state. It is no coincidence that many INFJs become therapists, psychological counselors, or spiritual mentors. They can place themselves in others' shoes, deeply feeling every psychological vibration, and then offering awakening advice. Carl Jung once wrote, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." INFJs grasp this concept naturally. They not only feel others' pain, but also transform that empathy into healing action. For INTJs, observation carries a different tone, cold, precise, and strategic. While INFJs perceive the world through the lens of emotion, INTJs view everything as a detailed map with knots that need to be untangled. They do not just see problems, they visualize feasible solutions and calculate every step needed to achieve their goals. The strength of INTJs lies in their ability to predict trends and build long-term plans. They do not fear challenging conventional thinking and are ready to pave new paths that others have never imagined. Carl Jung once affirmed, "Your visions will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens." INTJs are those who awaken through inner intellect, where every plan is meticulously designed flawless, and calculated with precision. The combination of INFJ's profound observation and INTJ's sharp strategic thinking creates an unlimited creative force. They do not just perceive things, they envision and construct the future in their way. To them, the world is not a fixed picture, but a flexible structure that can be altered, refined, and perfected. Carl Jung described this combination as a unique form of psychological function, where intuition and thinking blend, creating the ability to build life from within. Intuition is perception via the unconscious. Thinking is judgment through the application of objective criteria. INFJs and INTJs do not just live in the present, they also exist in the future they design themselves. INFJs and INTJs are a unique combination of deep observation and powerful creativity. They are individuals who not only understand the flow of the present, but also shape the future in their way. While the world is busy chasing superficial glitz, they quietly lay the foundation for a new reality, deeper, more meaningful, and more sustainable. And that is what makes INFJs and INTJs truly different, the observers and architects of the soul. Sign 4. You feel like an old soul in a fast world. In a world that spins too fast, INFJs and INTJs often feel like they belong to another time, a quieter, deeper dimension. While others seek fleeting connections and noisy distractions, they turn inward, embracing solitude and timeless truths that many have long forgotten. Carl Jung once said, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their souls." But INFJs and INTJs are different. They find solace in introspection, drawing from the collective unconscious, a reservoir of humanity's ancient wisdom and memories. Their souls resonate with old books, classical art, and philosophy, sensing the echoes of history in every brushstroke and written word. To them, a deep conversation under soft light holds more value than any noisy gathering. As Carl Jung put it, the least of things with a meaning is worth more in life than the greatest of things without it. This craving for depth often makes them feel out of place in modern society, where superficiality reigns. But their search is not for fleeting satisfaction, it is for inner awakening and timeless meaning. Carl Jung described this as an encounter with the wisdom of the ages, a spiritual connection beyond time. INFJs and INTJs are like gatekeepers of forgotten values, slowing down amidst the rush to let the soul breathe and listen to whispers from the unconscious. They are the old souls in a youthful world, seeking depth where others skim the surface. As Jung affirmed, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens." INFJs and INTJs are those who awaken, not because they are out of place, but because their souls transcend time, connected to ancient dreams still unfinished. Sign 5. Your energy is quiet but magnetic. The presence of an INFJ or INTJ radiates a quiet yet powerful energy. They do not need to speak much, yet their arrival slows the room, casting an invisible wave of calm and depth. Carl Jung called this the manifestation of the individuated self, a state of harmony between the conscious and the unconscious, light and shadow. As Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." INFJs and INTJs reach this self-awareness earlier than most through profound inner exploration. INFJs enter a room of shallow chatter and instantly sense hidden emotions, reflecting understanding without uttering a word, Their silence speaks volumes. For INTJs, their quietness is sharp and commanding. In heated debates, their few words bring clarity, their logic cutting through chaos. As Jung noted, in all chaos there is a cosmos, in all disorder, a secret order. INTJs thrive on uncovering that order. True power for INFJs and INTJs lies not in showy displays, but in deep inner strength. They understand, as Jung described, that one must pass through the inferno of passions to overcome them. They have faced their inner shadows, embraced them, and emerged stronger. This balance between light and darkness makes their presence magnetic, subtle, yet impossible to ignore. Jung called this the silent power of self-actualization, a quiet strength rooted in self-awareness. INFJs and INTJs do not need to prove themselves. Their mere presence is proof of their inner power. Amid chaos, they stand like calm lighthouses, unassuming but unbreakable. They know that sometimes silence is the greatest strength, and in that silence, they not only understand others, they understand themselves. Sign 6. You crave purpose over popularity. The powerful stillness of INFJs and INTJs is not a coincidence. It is the result of a profound journey within their souls, where they find harmony between darkness and light, between logic and intuition. That quiet magnetism comes from their deep understanding of themselves. They do not need the crowd's approval to feel valued. To INFJs and INTJs, the true meaning of life is not found in fleeting fame, but in the lasting legacy they leave behind. Carl Jung once said, "As far as we can discern, the sole purpose of human existence is to kindle a light in the darkness of mere being." For them, that light is their purpose, a profound meaning that transcends all the glitz of the material world. INFJs and INTJs do not follow the crowd, nor do they seek immediate recognition from society. INFJs, with the heart of the healer, always long to connect with others' souls, to ignite understanding and heal emotional wounds. They desire to see others rediscover themselves, overcome pain, and move toward wholeness. Famous INFJs like Martin Luther King Jr. or Mother Teresa dedicated their entire lives to the ideals of peace, justice, and empathy for others' suffering. They did not crave praise, for their actions did not stem from the desire for fame, but from a deep-seated need to heal and connect with humanity's soul. Meanwhile, INTJs seek meaning through the architect's path of creation and innovation. They do not fear breaking old boundaries to build new, more efficient foundations. For INTJs, true value lies in their ability to shape the future, to create lasting and sustainable change. Elon Musk, a quintessential INTJ, did not merely dream of changing the automotive industry with Tesla. He dared to envision sending humanity to Mars with SpaceX. For Musk, creating the unprecedented is not about securing a place in history. It is about serving humanity's progress, a burning desire that surpasses the limits of the present. Carl Jung called this journey individuation, the process of becoming one's true self, breaking free from predefined molds to become the most authentic version of oneself. He wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." For INFJs and INTJs, this journey is far from easy, for they must not only face their darkness, but also overcome societal expectations and pressures to remain true to their genuine purpose. It is not fame or applause they seek, but inner awakening and the lasting impact they leave on the world. Today's world is filled with temporary entertainment, endless races for attention, yet INFJs and INTJs stand outside of that spinning wheel. They do not care about the number of likes or the hollow applause of social circles. Instead, they pour their energy into meaningful work, life-changing projects, or deep, thoughtful conversations. For them, an honest dialogue, helping someone through a spiritual crisis, or birthing an idea that can transform the future, holds more value than any superficial spotlight. In Modern Man, In Search of a Soul, Carl Jung once declared, "Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakens." INFJs and INTJs have awakened through the journey into their inner world, where they discover timeless truths and walk steadfastly on the path they believe is meaningful. They do not need to be celebrated, because every step they take is already proof of their truest value, a value that cannot fade with time. Living in a world where value is often equated with popularity, INFJs and INTJs stand out because they choose the harder path, the pursuit of true meaning over temporary glory. And it is precisely that choice that makes them agents of change, profound healers, and builders of a better, more sustainable future. They do not need to be remembered through cheers or applause, because their value is etched deeply in the lasting changes they quietly create. Sign 7. You predict people and events with intuitive accuracy. From their powerful stillness to their craving for purpose over popularity, INFJs and INTJs have proven that their lives are not a pursuit of temporary attention, but a quest for lasting values. But perhaps one of their most unique and astonishing abilities lies in their intuition, a kind of power that allows them not only to sense the present, but also to predict with remarkable accuracy what is yet to come. Carl Jung once stated, "Intuition does not denote something contrary to reason, but something outside of the province of reason." For INFJs and INTJs, intuition is not magic. It is the crystallization of experience, knowledge, and long-term subconscious observation. When entering a new situation, INFJs and INTJs immediately scan their surroundings like a sophisticated radar. They do not just see with their eyes, they perceive with their minds, connecting the smallest signs into a complete picture. If INFJs typically use their intuition to read emotions and predict others' psychological states, INTJs employ it as a strategic tool to analyze situations and anticipate possible scenarios. In a tense meeting, an INTJ can predict the moves of their opponents based on tiny signs, a change in voice tone, a flicker of the eyes, or even the way someone organizes their documents. To them, the future does not arrive randomly. It is woven from threads of logic and delicate perception. INFJs are often called the prophets among their friends. When a relationship is about to break down, they are the first to sense the cracks, even when everything on the surface seems perfectly fine. It is not because they are prone to overthinking, but because they can feel subtle shifts in the other person's energy, a fleeting coldness, a slightly longer silence than usual, or the absence of eye contact. A friend might say, "Everything is still fine," but the INFJ would gently respond, "Something is off. I can feel it." And soon enough, time proves their intuition frighteningly accurate. INTJs, with their sharp strategic thinking, often amaze others by predicting trends or market movements. A prime example is Elon Musk, a quintessential INTJ, not only predicting the shift from fossil fuels to renewable energy, but also meticulously planning to make it a reality with Tesla. For INTJs, small signs in economic fluctuations, technological advances, or even shifts in social awareness are all critical data for making strategic forecasts. Their preparation is not only rooted in sharp logic, but also in their ability to sense trends from hidden signals. A form of collective intelligence that Jung described as an unconscious process of reasoning that gathers impressions and transforms them into insights. Carl Jung explained that intuition is a blend of logic and the unconscious, where subconscious fragments arrange themselves into a clear picture in the mind without the need for excessive explanation. He said, "The intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant. We have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift." For INFJs and INTJs, intuition is that sacred gift, a deep awareness that transcends ordinary logic. They do not need clear reasons to explain why their intuition is right, because those predictions stem from long-term experience and observation, combined with the ability to connect with the unconscious. In everyday life, those around them might not understand why INFJs and INTJs always seem to know something beforehand. They are often misunderstood as being overly imaginative or thinking too much, but the reality is that they unconsciously connect micro data points, resulting in predictions that are astonishingly accurate. A close friend may notice that an INFJ always warns about an untrustworthy relationship long before visible signs appear, or that an INTJ always suggests a backup strategy at work well before any risks become apparent. This sharp intuition can sometimes be a burden, since it is not always easy for them to clearly explain to others the reasons behind their insights. But for INFJs and INTJs, nothing is more valuable than listening to their inner voice. Number 2. How to start from scratch, beginning the journey of self-discovery. Starting a journey of self-discovery is never easy. It requires the courage to face oneself, to step into the hidden corners of the soul, where pain, insecurity, and unspoken desires are buried. Carl Jung once asserted, "Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakens." To awaken, to realize one's true nature, requires a journey inward, a place with no spotlight, no glittering recognition from society, only the raw confrontation with oneself. That journey begins by embracing solitude, a space where the noise of the outside world is silenced, leaving only the stillness of the mind and the freedom of thoughts to wander. 1. Embrace solitude. In the modern world, silence seems like a luxury. We are surrounded by noise, by the overwhelming flow of information on social media and the rush of everyday life. But for INFJs and INTJs, those who carry the blood of contemplation, silence is not just a need. It is a necessary condition for them to connect with themselves. Meditation, journaling, or simply sitting quietly in an empty room are all ways for them to return to their authentic selves. Carl Jung once described, "In silence, one's true self is revealed." It is in this stillness that the layers of ego gradually peel away, exposing the deeper levels of the inner self, where intuition and true understanding begin to take shape. When unburdened by society's noise, INFJs and INTJs can listen to their inner voice with the utmost clarity and authenticity. 2. Decode your environment. Once stillness is achieved, the next step is to decode the environment around you. Carl Jung emphasized, The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. Your environment is not just a backdrop for your experiences. It is a rich source of information about how people interact, how emotions are hidden or expressed, and even unresolved conflicts lurking beneath the surface. INFJs and INTJs, with their keen intuition, can observe the tiniest details, a fleeting glance, an unusual silence, or a forced smile. They do not just see the surface of events, they decode them. Practicing mindful observation, observing without judgment, helps them uncover hidden meanings, untold stories, and unspoken emotions. This is why many INFJs and INTJs become deep empaths and master strategists. They can foresee things that others only recognize after they happen because they read the environment as an artist reads each brushstroke on a canvas. 3. Map out your vision. When they have fully understood the world around them and the interactions within it, INFJs and INTJs move on to the next crucial step, mapping out their vision. Carl Jung once said, "Man needs difficulties. They are necessary for health." Difficulties and challenges are the catalysts for intellectual growth and personal development. Instead of avoiding them, INFJs and INTJs are ready to face those obstacles by planning, envisioning the future, and stepping toward their goals. They do not fantasize aimlessly. They create specific roadmaps based on sharp intuition and logical analysis. Mind maps are drafted, personal development plans are written in detail, and each step of action is meticulously outlined. It is their disciplined thinking that brings them closer to their most complete version of themselves, where every piece of their mind is systematically connected and deeply meaningful. 4. Integrate the shadow. However, the journey of self-discovery is not just about drawing radiant goals, it is also about integrating the shadow within. Carl Jung famously stated, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." The shadow, those hidden wounds, fears, and past mistakes, is not something to be buried, but something to be confronted and understood. INFJs and INTJs, with their ability to see through the deep layers of psychology, are unafraid to face those darker parts of themselves. They understand that to reach the light, one must walk through the darkness. This process of integration makes them stronger, more self-aware, and capable of overcoming their limits. INFJs like Nelson Mandela spent decades in prison, confronting pain and injustice. Yet, from that darkness, he emerged as a symbol of peace and forgiveness. His story is proof of the power of integrating one's inner shadows. 5. Prioritize depth over noise. Finally, INFJs and INTJs choose to prioritize depth over noise. In a world filled with superficial information and constant competition for attention, they carefully select relationships and experiences that provide lasting value. Carl Jung once said, "The least of things with a meaning is worth more in life than the greatest of things without it." They are not swept up by social games, lavish parties, or fleeting recognition. Instead, they spend their time building authentic relationships, seeking meaningful conversations, and focusing on self-development. Limiting time on social media, surrounding themselves with truly trustworthy friends, and cutting off shallow connections do not make them feel lonely. Instead, it purifies their minds, making their thoughts clearer and their intuition sharper. The journey of self-discovery for INFJs and INTJs is not just a path toward personal fulfillment. It is a quest for meaning and sustainable value. They do not need external recognition to affirm their worth, because they understand that real power comes from inner awakening. From stillness, they learn to listen. From the environment, they learn to observe. From their mind maps, they learn to build their future. From the shadows, they learn to confront and overcome. And finally, by prioritizing depth, they find genuine connection and lasting meaning. This is the awakening journey that Carl Jung named individuation, the process of becoming oneself, whole and indivisible. When we talk about INFJs and INTJs, we are not merely discussing personality types. We are touching upon the blueprints of the soul, unique soul designs that carry within them the ability to see beyond the surface and reach deeper layers of reality. Carl Jung once asserted, "Your visions will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakens." INFJs and INTJs have embarked on that journey, the journey of inner awakening, where intuition is not just a tool, but a compass that guides them through life's chaos. The journey of self-discovery for INFJs and INTJs does not begin with others' recognition, nor does it end with glittering praise. It is a return to oneself, embracing silence to listen to echoes from the unconscious, decoding subtle signs from the surrounding environment, mapping out the mind to shape the future, confronting and integrating hidden shadows, and finally, choosing depth over shallow noise. It is a challenging journey, but it is the only journey that leads to awakening and self-fulfillment. In this noisy and hectic world, INFJs and INTJs are like lighthouses of stillness and inner depth. They are not swept away by superficial external values. Instead, they follow the call of their soul, building a future with real meaning. They understand that the greatest strength does not lie in temporary applause, but in awakening and inner harmony. And that very awareness makes them extraordinary individuals, those who do not just see the world, but also decode and reshape it in their own unique, profound, and meaningful way. With every step they take, the world is not only seen but understood through the eyes of intuition and the heart of awakening. If you also feel that difference, if you sense you are walking a path of deep self-discovery, like INFJs and INTJs, click subscribe to never miss inspiring content about Carl Jung's philosophy and the journey of inner awakening. Let us explore the inner world together, decode the mysteries of the mind, and build a future full of meaning. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell to join us on the path to discovering your truest self. Have you ever felt that even though your life seems fine, it still isn't truly peaceful? You've tried making clear plans, organizing your work neatly, managing your time scientifically, yet inside there's always something vague, a sense of emptiness, restlessness, or a disconnection from yourself. That restlessness sometimes doesn't come from the external environment, nor does it start with your schedule. It begins with a fragmented mind, and only when you dare to sit down, in silence, to listen, to face, to untie each knot with honesty, can the real process of arranging truly begin. Carl Jung believed that to truly reorder life, we must start from within. Not by controlling emotions, positivizing thinking, or forcing ourselves to be strong, but by returning to ourselves in silence, gently, persistently, and truthfully. In this video, we will explore 6 profound principles from Carl Jung to change your life. Not so you can become more perfect, but so you can return to living as yourself, quietly, authentically, and stronger than any effort of control could ever make you. So if you are tired of trying to change your life from the outside, perhaps it is time to start from within. Principle 1. Arranging life in silence. Begin by facing the shadow. Whenever people want to reorganize their lives, they often start with external changes, decluttering the wardrobe, resetting the schedule, making to-do lists. But here's a truth few notice. Life only truly becomes orderly and peaceful when the space within us is arranged first, in silence, in honesty with ourselves, and especially in facing the darkness. Carl Jung called this the shadow, a deep part of our psyche that holds emotions, reactions, instincts, and aspects of personality we once rejected because we thought they shouldn't exist. You felt jealous but forced a smile. You've been angry but swallowed it down with a polite remark. You felt unappreciated but told yourself, maybe I'm just too sensitive. All of those parts, the suppressed emotions, the brushed-off reactions, don't disappear. They retreat inside and lie dormant in the shadow. But the shadow doesn't sleep peacefully. It waits until you are weak, stressed, exhausted, then rises in ways you don't expect. An outburst of anger, an overreaction, a regretful comment, or simply a hollow feeling in the middle of a seemingly full life. The more you reject the shadow, the more it controls you from behind. And ironically, many people seek peace by arranging life so it's in order, stable job, stable family, stable relationships. Yet they can't explain why they still feel lost, tired, stuck. Because the shadow inside has never been seen, still quietly steering your life through its silence. Carl Jung once wrote, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." But how do you start? You don't need to immediately confront the scariest things inside you. Begin with gentle observation, without judgment. It could be an evening when you turn off your phone early, a journal page noting the day's reactions, a moment when you honestly answer, what bothered me today and how did I react? I once heard the story of a man considered the model husband, a fair boss, a loyal friend, but the nicer he was, the more exhausted he became. In a therapy session, when asked to list recent annoyances, Ricardo burst into tears. Not because of anything major, but because he realized he hadn't dared to say no in years. He feared being misunderstood, feared being seen as selfish. And that unacknowledged anger had built up into a quiet form of self-destruction. When he began keeping a shadow journal, a notebook where he honestly recorded every emotion he once labeled as bad, something strange happened. He stopped overreacting to loved ones. He slept better, and most importantly, he felt more real. No longer the man who was always proper, always patient, but a man who knew what he was feeling and was no longer afraid of it. Writing a shadow journal doesn't require you to be a writer. Just a few lines a day. Where did I pretend to be happy when I wasn't? When did I overreact? Is there a part of me that feels jealous, angry, ashamed, that I'm trying to brush aside? A woman once shared in a Jungian therapy session that the first sentence she wrote in her journal was, "I'm upset because my best friend is going on a new trip." She felt ashamed writing it because jealousy is bad. But after a few lines, she realized what she envied wasn't the trip, but the freedom. She wished she could allow herself to do something just for herself, without asking permission, without feeling guilty. And from a small spark of envy, she uncovered a long-denied part, the need to live for herself. And that is the goal of facing the shadow, not to fix it, but to understand. Beneath each uncomfortable reaction is a part of you longing to be heard. Facing the shadow doesn't happen in one go. It is a quiet journey, repeated daily, in silent moments, in every time you're honest, in every time you stop forcing yourself to be good, to be strong, to be normal. And in that very journey, you begin to arrange the most important things: your heart, your emotions, and your true identity. It's no coincidence that Carl Jung saw the shadow as the place holding both wounds and treasures. Inside are not only things you once feared, but also vibrant parts you rejected. Boldness, intuition, creativity, passion, all waiting for you to return in silence. You don't need to step into the shadow dramatically. Begin with gentle companionship. When you sit down and write one honest line, you've already done more than 90% of the world who are busy running away from themselves. And then, little by little, the chaos within you will calm. The turmoil in your emotions will have space to settle. You won't need to be fine anymore because you've started arranging your life from within, quietly but sustainably. If facing the shadow is the first step to clearing your inner space, then listening in silence is like placing your hand over your heart and waiting for a call, not from the world, but from the deepest part of your being. And that is what we will explore in Jungian principle number, Dusra. Principle 2. Establishing a sacred dialogue with the unconscious. You can imagine the inner journey as stepping into an old house. On the ground floor are the visible things, the roles you've played, your daily emotions, your familiar behaviors. In the basement is the shadow, where the parts you've rejected are stored. If you're brave enough to go down, tidy up the cluttered memories, you'll find a small door tucked in the corner, leading to a deeper place, the unconscious. If the shadow is the dark space you once feared, then the unconscious is the ancient forest you once belonged to, but have forgotten the way back. In that forest, the language is not words, but symbols. Not logic, but intuition. Not loud voices, but dreams, strange images, and coincidences that make you shiver for a moment. Carl Jung once called dreams letters sent from the soul. And the unconscious, according to him, is not a place of faults, but the deepest self trying to speak to you. The problem is, most of us are too busy to read the letters. We get caught up in to-dos, in the noise of society, and lose the ability to listen to the subtle signals from within. Imagine the unconscious as a deep lake covered in mist, and the conscious mind as a small boat drifting on the surface. Every time you dream, have a hunch, or encounter a strange coincidence, it means the surface of the lake is rippling. But if you only stare at the map and logic, you'll miss the movement of the water, and the precious whispers will pass you by. That's why arranging life in silence isn't just about facing the shadow, but also about learning to sit by the lake, without probing, without rushing to analyze, simply to listen. I have a friend who is an interior designer, living a life that everyone admires, steady projects, high income, luxurious travels. Yet she always carried a vague feeling that she was living to the wrong music. One night, Ariane dreamed she was standing in the middle of a magnificent house she had designed, but all the furniture floated in the air. As she walked, everything slid away as if refusing to let her hold on. She woke up feeling unsettled, but instead of brushing it off, she began to record her dreams, not trying to understand, not analyzing, just writing. And over time, certain images kept repeating: rooms without doors, blocked passageways,